Phil Spencer conceded the console war, but my man here is playing 4D chess. And a lot of people got upset because they didn't like the attitude that he took when talking about this console war, pretty much conceding the war to the other two companies, being Sony and Nintendo. But he's actually positioning himself here for a winning move. What is the job of a CEO? We've said it time and time again, right? It's to make the company money, knowing where the market's going and moving forward in that direction. Now, as you may know, right now Microsoft is involved in the acquisition of Activision Blizzard, and there's a bunch of roadblocks, one of them being, competition and how they would push out the competition. Well, if they've already conceded the console war, which they don't want to win, there's another barrier that's broken down. Let's talk about it in depth. Guys, for those of you who are more interested in the subject, as a member benefit, there is a detailed analysis of this particular video posted right now as a member's post. If you choose to do so, go ahead and join, and you'll get to see these and other posts before the videos are put up. Now, what do you guys think would happen if you walked into a venture capitalist office right now and said, hey, I want to win the next console war, but not the big ones, not with the big boys. I want to win the next console war between Atari and the Evercade, and I want to be number 3. I want to go in here and I want to be number 1, right? They would laugh you right out of the office, right? Same thing that happened to Tallarico, by his own words. They tried to nickel and dime him, as he said, because it's a losing move long term, against other businesses that don't have those kind of barriers, right? Why don't you want to run a hardware business as opposed to a software business? The way Amico's turning right now, for example. Well, software business has several advantages, right? The biggest one is operating costs versus a hardware manufacturer. And that really is one of the major advantages you have. Lower production costs, right? Because you can outsource, you can hire outside. You don't have to have your employees, which leads into the number 2. You have reduced labor requirements, right? If you just have a couple of guys sitting behind a computer, right, with $200,000, $300,000 a year, you can pretty much start developing software, right? But if you want to make hardware, right, you're looking at millions of dollars, right, before you see any return, right? And with software, you're quicker to the market, again, which is going to give you a return on investment much quicker, or know if you have a loss. When you're dealing in manufacturing, you're talking about 1 to 3 years before you put out the product, number 1. Number 2, it could be up to 5 years when you're going to see the return, because we all know that you're not going to make the money on that hardware. Every time it's been tried, whether it's the Neo Geo back in the day, or any was it 3DO, when the PlayStation tried to come up at $650, if you try to make the money up front, you're going to lose the market, because you can buy, for that price, you can buy a PC basically, which will give you the same type of experience. And that's what the public has chosen over and over again. So you have to make a good piece of software, right? A very well engineered piece of software that you're going to lose money on up front. That's what you have to do, right? That's the reason the Amico doesn't work at $339, right? And you can't do that and think that you're going to, make money within the first year. Something that you could do, right, with software. Now, you also have lower inventory risk, right? Software, you can produce as much or as little as you want. You're just making copies of the same thing, basically just producing licenses. With hardware, you have to produce a certain amount of units in order for it to be feasible, right? To have some sort of lower in cost. It's not the same making 25 consoles as it is making 25,000 or 25 million. The more you make, the more money you're going to save on production, but the higher risk you have on having that thing in stock and nobody wanting to buy it. That's how I've been able to collect so many games, because when consoles go, over production, people sell them and nobody can get 10 cents on the dollar, right? Not only that, you're talking about reduce liabilities, right? When you are manufacturing, you have more chances of an accident, more chances of, work disasters. I mean, just the liabilities and insurance that you have to buy is a lot more than if you're going to outsource, basically hire somebody as a second or third party in order for them to program something for you, right? All the risk is on them. They're an independent business. You don't have to take any other liabilities, right? And something else that you have to look at is scalability, right? Scalability, how fast you can expand or contract, right? If you have already a set purchase order, for example, for 25 million consoles, and all of a sudden you figure out that you can only sell 2, but you already put in the PO for 25, then that's how you lose $1 million. You got to ask Tommy Tallarico. Now I'm just giving you the bare bones here, guys. Now both businesses, let me tell you, both businesses have their merit, right? But in the end, you're going to make the money up in the software. It's not going to be on the hardware, right? If you look at Nintendo's model, they lose money. If you look at PlayStation 5, they lose money. They make it back up on the licensing and software. That's where they make their bones, but they have the ability to, not make money for the first 2 years or whatever it takes for these titles to sell, specifically the ones that they produce, right? And start getting that money and licensing that they need, that is so important to keep the business going. But if you wanted to start from scratch, right, it's easier to start a software business. And my man here, Phil Spencer, he's playing 4D chess, right? He's looking at this market within 10 years, right? It's not his job to win a console war. People forget that. It's not his job to make Microsoft Xbox #1 in the market as far as hardware. That's never been his job. His job always has been, as it in any employees, to make the company the most amount of money with the least amount of cost. It's very simple, guys. We've talked about this hundreds of times in this channel, right? Regardless of what your feelings are about what the market should be, or what the products you think should be, this is the basic tenets of any business, right? And he's just looking out for himself and for his company on how that's going to happen. The way that's going to happen for Microsoft is through hardware. Let Nintendo, let Sony take the big hits up front in manufacturing, because in the end, Microsoft can just switch over to PC and say, okay, well, now all content is going to be PC and mobile phone exclusive, right? Mobile phones now are becoming so powerful, right? So next level, that you can have a great gaming experience on them simply with attaching a controller. PCs, the same thing. You can get everything you could get from an Xbox on a PC if you had the titles there. And as long as you have that service attached to it, right? Which at some point, I can tell you this right now, within 10 years, that service is going to be about $30. And you're going to have great titles that you want. And what they want eventually is to put that service, to put Microsoft software on all platforms. It doesn't matter if it's mobile, it doesn't matter if it's a Sony PlayStation, and it doesn't matter if it's Nintendo. As a matter of fact, they'd like to offer those games on their service, right? That's the way they see their business, and that's the way they're going to make the most amount of money over time. Phil Spencer has the vision of a CEO. And what is that vision that a CEO should have? He knows where the market's going in the future. He's preparing his company now so they can make the most amount of money. All right, guys, that's the way I see it. Tell me what you think. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. I hope I was able to earn your subscription today. Remember to share your opinion with others in the comments. And don't forget to hit the like button. I'll catch you on the next one.